Skye Headersheet.
Yes.
Welcome to the Carrie Croft Show.
Thank you.
I've been just waiting for this moment. It's good to soak you in, to see your face again.
It is so good to see you.
You know, because I feel it's like I feel like we developed a really strong connection, and I missed you.
I know.
Have you felt that, or were you like, get me the hell out of here with this woman?
No, I absolutely missed you guys a ton. Life just kind of got a little rocky there for a minute, and then I started my new job. So it's like everything started running really fast.
Yeah, crazy. So I just told you I had Shep Dog in here and Dr. Jane. And so Dr. Shepard and I kind of told the story about, you know, you and Jason and the kids pulling up to the house and how nervous I was. And I'm like, when's the other shoe going to drop? And then next thing you know, we're in the delivery room, and it was one of the most incredible experiences all the way through that I could have ever asked for. And it's because of you and Jason and your family, you know, and for that, we're like forever indebted.
Yeah, it was an indescribable experience.
And so as you and I have gotten to know each other, and I, have been kind of figuring you out a little bit, as I'm sure you were figuring me out, you have such a cool, silent, hippie-ish demeanor, but then you also have this sort of like edge to you that's just, it's there, but it's like, I love your personality. I do. Like the way you handled everything. I mean, like looking back to, we had a miscarriage the first time, and the whole drama with Dr. Jane's office and the fluid in the uterus and all these things. And you were just like, let's fucking go. But it was never, you never like got too high or too low. You were always steady. Is that how you are all the time in your life?
Pretty much. I feel like sometimes I'm crazy in my head, but I'm really good about keeping it together. I'm extremely adaptable. I feel like I'm a chameleon. I adapt to whatever situation I'm in. My husband gets to see my crazy. When it gets to that level, when my anxiety gets to a level that I can no longer, maintain it. But I feel like for the most part, I'm pretty even keel, and I just adapt wherever I am.
So people have lots of questions about surrogacy in general and the journey. I mean, there's just, it's a very, it's not something that most people even know someone who's done it or on either side, like someone who's had a surrogate or was a surrogate. So this conversation, there's going to be a lot of voyeurism, like people like wanting to know all the things, right? So let's go back to, you were a surrogate once before.
Yes.
And that was what, 8 years ago now, maybe?
Yes.
When did you always feel called to do, because you are very altruistic. For me, I know for a fact, because this is something that you get paid for. Surrogates get paid to do this. But in my experience with you, the money, although helpful, and yes, of course you want to get paid, there was like, you really wanted to help us.
Yes.
And that comes through in the fact that you never negotiated a dollar amount. The fact that money and all those things wasn't like, I want these 20 things. You truly, in your actions, showed that. So going back to before you were a surrogate the first time, did you always know you wanted to be one, or were you just like, I wanted to help people, or how did that all kind of transpire the first time?
So I hadn't even thought of it. Like, it hadn't even crossed my mind until my mother-in-law worked at an infertility clinic or office here in Columbus. And a friend of hers that she worked with had a family member that needed a surrogate. And they all knew me very well. I had worked in the office off and on. And she went to Patty, my mother-in-law, and just said, hey, do you think Skye would be interested? And so Patty asked me, and I was like a light bulb clicked on in my head. And I was like, that would be amazing. I had never thought about it once before, but as soon as it was presented to me, I was like, something just clicked. And I said, that would be unbelievable to be able to give somebody that gift, especially after kind of struggling with infertility for a little while myself before I got pregnant with Colin. It just kind of clicked.
And you loved being pregnant, right?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So I think that made a big difference too, because if you're somebody out there who's like, oh my God, I hated every minute of it. It would be even a bigger hill to climb to think about, renting your entire body out for, I mean, it's 12 months, let alone, 9.
Yeah.
But if you love all of the things about being pregnant, well, that's another, mark in the pro column for potentially becoming a surrogate, right?
Right.
So that first surrogate experience was a good one.
Yes.
You had a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Everything went well with the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of kept moving on.
Yeah.
What was that first conversation like with Jason, your husband, when you as women, we have all these like crazy ideas, and then the guy's like, wait, do I jump on board or not? So set the tone for, and anyone who knows Jason, like Jason's just the freaking best. So I just can picture that conversation. How did that all transpire?
Initially, he was basically like, you're joking, right? Like, you cannot possibly be serious that you want to do this. And yeah, he was definitely not on board right away. He was questioning, just had a ton of questions. And then the more that we talked about it and the more that he could see my passion and the way that I was feeling about it, I could, convey to him how important it was to me. And we met the family, and then he was like, okay, then he got on board after that. But
so
initially, I think his brain kind of exploded. Like, just he had no idea.
Does he ever, so when you're pregnant with this other person's baby and you guys are getting into like your typical couple like spat, or like you guys are in, because you're living your life, but you're carrying someone else's. Did he ever get like shitty about it?
No.
Or was he just always, because I'm telling you, I've never seen a more supportive coupling. He didn't miss one appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, the three of us literally got to know each other, through those appointments. Because I'm always like, Brady, I'll debrief you later. I mean, he's a teacher, so I'm like, you're not taking a whole day off school for one ultrasound, right? So he didn't miss one thing.
Yeah.
Actually, he did. And I remember maybe one he missed.
Oh, yeah, he had to work.
And I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
We have become really, really close. Obviously, over the years, we've been married for 22 years now. He's just the most supportive and amazing man on the planet. That's all there is to it. Yeah, he never once got upset or frustrated about it. Like, once we decided that was what we were going to do, he was 1,000% supportive the entire time.
That's just remarkable. I love you, Jason. I miss you. So speaking of Jason, before we even move on to anything else, let's take a minute here for you and Jason, because you're giving me permission to tell the story, which gives me such joy. I don't know if it'll ever make the airwaves, but at least I get to rehear it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So when you and I were getting to know each other, and we sat down at the Cheesecake Factory and had a lunch, and so I'm like asking you questions, because even to me, I'm like, I want to know more about this woman, because it's extraordinary to find someone who would do something like this. And you were just so something. And I'm like, I just want to peel the layers back here. What makes someone like, sure, I'll rent my body out. So as we were talking, I'm asking you like the typical, like, how did you and Jason meet? And when you told me this story, number one, your stock completely went through the roof. I was like, okay, this girl's fucking cool and wild and all the things. And then secondly, it became very clear to me with your personality type, like why being a surrogate just wasn't as big of a deal as it might be to the average human. So let's talk about how you and Jason met.
So we were both living in Southern California at the time. He was a bartender and I was a server at GameWorks in Irvine. And I just remember the first day that I came into work and they were showing me around, and he was working behind the bar. And they, walking around, introducing me to everybody. And I remember meeting him, and something in my brain just kind of clicked. But I was kind of in a weird spot in my life at that point. And so I was just like, no, like, don't even think about it. Don't even, like, you can't be with anybody else right now. Just let it go. Fast forward a couple months, everybody that works in the restaurant industry goes out and drinks after work, right? So we would always go out, just hang out in groups, pretty much any night of the week that we were all working. And then at one point, I really wanted to go to the beach one day, and I was calling like every single person that I knew in my phone, like, hey, you want to meet me at the beach? Hey, you want to meet me at the beach? Nobody came. Nobody was available except for him. And he was like, sure, I'll meet you there. Like we all lived really close by. So he's like, I can be right there. So he comes down to the beach and we were just hanging out. This was the first time we had just hung out, just the two of us. And I remember just walking around on the beach and hanging out. And one of the conversations that we had was he said he didn't think that he would ever get married. And I was like, why? Why would you think that? He's like, well, you know, I don't want to be with somebody and have that expectation that you always have to do things. Like he used the example of like an office Christmas party. I don't want to be married and think that I have to do these things just because I'm married. And I was like, well, that's normal. Like who would expect you to do that? You know, nobody should expect you to do that. So that was kind of one of the things that we were both like on the same page about and kind of stuck out in my brain. I don't know. So then things go on, you know, time goes by a week or two. And then we had this double date he lived with a married couple at the time. So it was me and him and this married couple. We decided to go out, get dinner, play pool. We love to play pool, just, you know, have some drinks. So we're out partying all night long. On the way back to their apartment at like 2 a.m., we were in the drive-thru of Jack in the Box. And just like two little lovebirds in the back seat, just like talking and making out and all this stuff. And our best friend in the front seat turns around and says, you guys are so perfect for each other. We should just drive to Vegas right now and you guys should get married. And we, like, everything, like, went dead silent for a second. And we looked at each other. And it was just this moment that I will never forget. And we were both just like, holy shit, let's do it. Like, I don't know why, but that sounds perfect. And, like, let's just do it. So we went back to their apartment. And the wife of the best friend couple let me borrow an evening gown of hers, and we like threw a bunch of stuff in a bag and hopped in the car at like 2:30 in the morning and started driving to Vegas. We got there probably around 6 a.m. or something, 6:30. I don't remember exactly. But on the way there, we were like trying to find hotel rooms and all this stuff. So we get there. And then we had to go to the courthouse to get a marriage license. We're in line at the courthouse, and he had to teach me how to spell his last name.
Can we take a minute for that? Wait, what's my last name again? H-E? Is there a double T? And it's not like it's Smith.
Yeah. My maiden name was May.
Okay.
M-A-Y.
Okay.
Super easy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're literally in line filling out this application for a marriage certificate. And he was teaching me how to spell his last name. We were talking about, like, our families. And we didn't know anything about each other, really. I mean, just that we liked hanging out and we clicked really well. And we didn't know anything about, like, our family history. Like,
if he was a serial killer.
Nothing.
So then I was very impressed with this and just completely like blown away by that part. But then I was asking you because, like, okay, let's say we do this, we're buzzed, we grab the bag, and then as you start to sober up on the road towards, you know, Viva Las Vegas, a lot of people would be like, well, look at the time. And so then I ask you, I'm like, wait, did you even like back out like when it was like 8 a.m. and the hangover starting to set in? You're like, no. So then now you're there, you're learning how to spell your name, you're in line, reality setting in, and you keep going.
Yeah, we just kept going. And I don't know, I just kept thinking, why does this feel right? Like, it's super crazy. But for some reason, I just felt like it was supposed to happen. I don't know. I'm always big on, go with your gut and all that kind of stuff. So it just felt right. And so we got the marriage license. We went back to the hotel. He went into one room with his best friend, Chris, and I went into another room with Bethany. And I was trying to maybe sleep for a couple hours. I don't know. We were just kind of trying to chill for a minute. And he talks about it. You should get him on here too to hear his side of it.
I need to.
He talks about kind of thinking she's going to back out, right? There's no way that we're going to go through with this. And I remember laying there just thinking, this is do or die at this point. Because we had scheduled, I forgot to mention, we had already scheduled the appointment for the ceremony at the chapel right across the street. And so it was do or die. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So then I got Bethany up and I was like, we got to go. Let's go get my hair done and all this stuff. So we went to the salon. I got my hair done. Yeah. And then we met them at the chapel at 7:15 on July 15th. And his best friend walked me down the aisle and
no parents knew at this point, right?
Knew.
When did you, and then when you introduce your parent, you're like, hey, by the way, this is a guy I work with / my husband.
So Jason was really, really worried that his parents were going to hate me because of how everything went down. So we decided to tell them that we had gotten engaged that night instead of married. So the story was that we had gotten engaged, and then the following March, we had a big wedding ceremony for the families and stuff.
Did you finally tell them, by the way, or did you or is this their, hey guys?
On our 10th anniversary, I made a book for them and wrote our story out. I should have brought it for you.
Yeah.
I wrote our story out and put pictures and stuff in it and gave it to them.
So what color was your dress again? Because you said it was green maybe?
It was a sparkly, bluish, greenish, an evening gown.
I'm the imagery of you in this chapel in this sparkly dress. And was it Elvis officiating or is this a regular?
No. Actually, I'll never forget. His name was Jean-Claude, our officiant, and he was awesome. And it was great. We even looked into having him do our wedding when we had the ceremony in March, but he wasn't available.
Did you guys write your own vows?
No.
And then what was the reception that night? Did you guys just go party again?
We went to the Stratosphere and had dinner, up at the top of the Stratosphere. And then we went and partied and gambled. And
So with something like that, though, I'm sure, was there some buyer's remorse there? When reality set in and you're like, what the, let's say you got your first big argument, right? Or, you notice what you really don't like about him. And then you go back to well, I married him in Vegas after 10 seconds. Did you guys have those moments where you were holy shit?
Yeah, we definitely had a few of those. On the way back, on the drive home from Vegas, we were okay, so I guess we move in together now. I was living with my brother at the time. So I had to go back and tell my brother, surprise, I'm moving out. And it
Skye.
was crazy.
So this, we say all this to say, this is surrogacy doesn't feel like that big of a deal when you kind of have that type of personality, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I go with my gut, and when it feels right, I'm all in.
So let's go back to our story.
Yes.
Okay. So talk through from your perspective how you first found out about us, the whole angle just from your side.
Okay. So Charity had sent me, she had texted me and said, hey, are you interested in being a surrogate? I know you've had healthy pregnancies and I know this person. If you're interested, I'll send you the information. She had that flyer thing.
Charity is a nanny of a really great friend of mine, Jesse Pizzuti. So that's where that connection is. And you work for Charity.
Yes. And I knew Jason knew Charity before he and I even
Didn't
knew
they work
each
at
other.
GameWorks together or something? The GameWorks connection or somewhere?
She was dating somebody that worked at GameWorks.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So she was in that whole group.
Got it. You should have invited her to the wedding.
So she had texted me and said, hey, are you even interested? She didn't even know at that point that I had been a surrogate before, which I thought she did, but we've obviously lost touch on and off over the years. So I was like, again, my brain just goes, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. And then I was like, I think I'm too old for that. Like, are they going to even let me? I don't even know if I could because I was 42 or 3 at the time. So yeah, I was like, yeah, just send me the information. I'll take a look at it. And then my brain's going, oh, Jason's not going to like this.
How am I going to slip this one past him?
So she sent me your information thing. And as soon as I read it, I was just like, if they will let me do this, I am absolutely going to do this. Like if I am physically or medically cleared or whatever, I was like, I have to do this. So as soon as I said something to Jason, he was kind of like, at least he wasn't as shocked because I had done it before, but he was like, kind of his brain was going the same way I was, like, we're older now, like, is this, I don't know. So, we wanted to talk to my doctor that had delivered all my kids and even delivered the first surrogate pregnancy. So we made an appointment to talk to him, and he was 100% on board. He said that I was very healthy, and he said, if that's what you want to do, absolutely. Went over all of the pros and cons and the risks with us. And then as soon as he gave me the all clear, and Jason was like, I know I'm not going to be able to talk you out of it, so
right.
I might as well support you. So then I emailed Dr. Shepard, and she was so sweet and welcoming in her email and was like, let's find a time that we can meet.
Yeah, she was the broker, right?
Yeah.
We talk about that in her podcast. So I'm like, as if you weren't, you were bored, like you weren't busy. I'm like, hey, could you be my liaison to help me like broker this relationship? Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah.
And then, so we were actually, so Shepdog and I, when we were waiting in limbo for Jason, because I remember that, I'm like, oh my gosh, and I didn't know Jason at all. And I'm like, her husband, like he's got the deciding factor. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, is he going to say yes? Is he going to say no? Is this going to work out? Right? We're like on pins and needles. Then what was when you guys, and you brought your kids that first visit, when you guys got back in the car and pulled away, like, what were you guys saying? Like, what were your thoughts? And like, how did you guys feel?
We both were just like, this is amazing. I love them. Something just feels right. It just felt comfortable and like it was meant to be.
It really was.
Yeah.
And then even when you have that beginning and you're like, okay, this is the honeymoon phase. Like everybody likes each other. And then you're wondering, how is this relationship going to work? Like, how does this work? Right.
Right.
And every single step of the way, it was like there was a higher power. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I mean, even when that first the miscarriage happened, I wasn't anticipating the guilt. I wasn't even thinking any of that through. But it's your body. Like, so these are the risks that you take on, right? But then when that happened, and then you and I are texting, and you're like, this one kind of is, worse than I thought. And like and then I'm picturing you in your home, your life stopping because of my situation. I mean, that was just like, an unanticipated thing. And I'm like, is she going to want to quit? And I totally understand if she didn't want to do it anymore. And then of course, like clockwork, you're like, let's fucking go. Give me a month. Let's fucking go.
1 month. That's all I needed.
And then Dr. Jane, like, my God. And I'm going to make you listen to this, AJ Jane. So then he's, coming in and like, oh my God, there's fluid in the uterus and oh shit. And like, he's flying around the room. And I'm like, oh my God, is this and then of course you were always this, like, I don't even know if you meant to be or not, but I always felt like you were just this calming, you were like having like a calming crystal, like sitting in the room. Because, Jason's got his like, personality, and I've got my personality. And then you got Dr. Jane blowing through the room like some kind of Tasmanian devil. You got the embryologist waiting behind the curtain to like flip the thing open to like and then both times I'm like, and remember the one time where he's like, should we cancel? Now canceling is a huge deal.
Right.
Especially for a situation like I'm in, right? So it's like, okay, hold on. You're going to ask me to wait again, another cycle.
Right.
And I'm like, and then I looked at you though, and I'm like, what do you want to do? You're like, let's do it.
Yeah, let's just go.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
It felt, I know I keep saying it, but it just felt right. And I pray all the time, and it keeps me grounded. And I feel like when I pray and then I trust my instincts, I just know that that's right, that it's right.
And so then we get to the final thing, and then they put me, and this doesn't happen ever or hardly ever, right? Because we're like, okay, we got the mom in this room, and then we got you in the other room, and we're like, I mean, I couldn't wait to get back in your room. I'm like, I felt like we were at a hotel in separate hotel rooms. And I'm like, I better let her rest. I mean, she is delivering the baby. Like, I want to go see what they're doing and how they're doing. And I mean, probably situations like this may not occur like that, where it's so interchangeable and so warm and like a friendship has developed, right?
Yeah.
And so then being in that room that day, I go back to that moment, and it's literally like I was elevated out of my body. I mean, the most unbelievable. I mean, to sit and watch your baby being born as a woman.
I can't imagine it from your perspective.
It was, and I didn't have those feelings though. I didn't have those feelings of like, oh, I mean, I can't carry that. Like, and I understand that comes, everyone's situation is different, and a lot of women have to mourn, and they don't have the same, like some people may not even be in the room. I mean, who knows? But for me, I was just so freaking grateful and happy and elated that we found each other and that it all was in that moment. So for me, it was just core memory up there, like top 10, of my life. And then I was like, shit, the baby was born, you were in the other room. And then the morning when you guys were leaving the hospital, I felt sad.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, they're leaving. Like, it was weird. It was like a weird thing that I don't think is typical for this type of relationship. But I was like, I know we will be in each other's lives. I want her to know you and know her story, and I want you to be around, and Jason and your kid, and it's just like, that's so important to me. It's just so special.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think, anybody out there who is listening to this and is like, God, maybe I could, possibly, it's really, I don't want to say it's not simple. It's very complicated. I mean, you're handing your body over. There are things that can happen, but like, it really truly is the biggest gift I feel like you can, or one of the greatest gifts that you can give to another human being.
Yeah. I am blessed that I am able to do that, that I'm physically able. It's actually kind of sad to me now that I probably shouldn't do it anymore, because obviously my age and all that.
You're going to hang up the uterus?
Yeah, I think I should.
It's funny. I had somebody ask me about you because they have a friend who is going through cancer treatment, et cetera. And I was like, I think Skye is going to hang up her, her reproductive organs. However, I can help you find another one. May not be as awesome, or maybe almost as awesome as Skye, but like, I can help you find one.
Yeah.
So anything else, like from your experience or thoughts that you would have for people out there that are either on my side considering it or considering being a surrogate, anything that you've learned, or any last words on the surrogate front?
I would just say, gosh, if you're even open to the idea, like if you are wanting to be a surrogate or open to the idea of it, I say do it, because like you said, it's the most precious thing that you can do for another family. And it's so fulfilling. And, some people go their whole lives hoping or searching for something that they can do to feel fulfilled, or, to help other people. And I've been blessed enough to be able to do it twice. So if you're healthy, you have good pregnancies, I say do it, because it's so rewarding.
Yeah. And if you are out there wondering kind of like, what are the requirements, I think that's probably what the first thing the doctor is going to look at is your history, in terms of your reproductive history. So like if you had horrible pregnancies and C-sections and all that, I think that's their first factor, even over age. I mean, you have to ask Shepdog and all that. But, if you've had good pregnancies and you enjoy being pregnant, and guess what? You can make some money and save money or pay for your kids' college or something. I mean, I feel like that's a win-win.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
And something else as a reminder, and I know I put a solo cast out there talking about how I didn't use an agency. And again, I have nothing against agencies. I think they're great. And if you want to use one, use one. And if you have the money to do that, great. But a reminder, and as Skye is sitting here, you can find your own surrogate. You just have to think of this as a challenge and be resourceful. Use your network. People who love you will carry the torch for you. And again, as a reminder, I'm always here as a source of education and inspiration. I'm so passionate about not just surrogacy, but just the whole idea of art technology and, or adoption or whatever it is, however your family is built. I just am very passionate when someone can't do it right away and it doesn't come natural to them, and your road is choppy and it's rocky and it's uphill. It doesn't mean that there won't be something great at the end. You just have to push maybe a little harder or get a little more creative. And this is a testament to that, right? Definitely. And our lifetime friendship is also a huge bonus, and Jason and the kids. All right, Skye, I love you.
I love you too.
I am so appreciative. It's so good to see your face.
Thanks, you too.
And I'm going to have you back. You and Jason can come on and do a threesome.
That would be awesome.
Perfect. All right. And then if you're still following your girl out there, please follow me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, keep moving. Love it.